Hi, James.
Hey.
Welcome to the lab.
Thank you.
My name is Sarah. I'll be the nurse practitioner today.
Okay.
It looks like we're getting you fitted for a custom set of gloves. Is that correct?
That is correct,
okay.
Yes.
And these gloves, I believe, are going to be for wheelchair use.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So if it's all right with you, I'll be taking a couple notes. I have your chart pulled up here electronically.
Okay.
Just have a couple questions to ask you before we get started, okay?
Sure.
Okay. So just firstly, can you confirm your last name for me?
Sure. Monroe, M-O-N-R-O-E.
Perfect. Okay. And these are for wheelchair use and intermittent wheelchair use, correct? It's
yes,
not
it's
full-time.
not going to be full-time.
Okay. If you could give me kind of an estimate, how many hours a week would you say you'll have to wear the gloves?
I would say about 10 hours a week.
10 hours a week. Perfect. Okay. And I assume you're using it both inside and outside, so do we
Yes.
want kind of like a weather resistant?
Yes, I would like to use them outdoors as well.
Okay. Perfect. And do you have a preference in fabric? A lot of our patients go with like a leather custom blend, sometimes a poly blend if you're a little more sensitive to certain fabrics. Leather can be kind of hard to break in.
I'm open to suggestions. I don't have a preference.
Perfect. So we can go over that when we kind of have a little bit of a closer look at your hands. And do you prefer like a tighter fit, a looser fit, kind of in between?
In between, probably.
Okay, so more of like a relaxed, moderate fit.
Yes. I don't want them too tight.
Okay. And do you have a wrist length preference?
No, I don't. Just regular wrist length, just,
Kind
right
of cut
past
off
it.
right past?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
Okay, and what about color? Black tends to be popular for our wheelchair users
Black
just
is
because they tend to
perfectly
get
fine.
dirty.
Black's fine.
And then the only other question I have specifically, because they'll be used for wheelchair use, do you want like a poly grip on the inside? A lot of people tend to think it gives you a better grip on the wheels, less slip, especially if the tires are wet.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Okay. So it looks like we got everything we need there. Let me just go ahead and exit out of this and we'll get started. So I'm going to set this to the side. And just to get started, I'm going to go ahead and clean my hands.
Okay.
So a couple different things we're going to be doing today to get you fitted. It's a multi-step process.
All right.
I'm going to put on a regular pair of exam gloves to get started. Okay, so to get started, can I have you stretch your arms out for me?
Sure.
I'm going to be doing just kind of a basic overall assessment. See if there's any specific skin conditions or textures that we need to be aware of. Do you have any sensitivities to any fabrics?
No, I don't.
Okay, temperature is pretty even throughout. I'm not feeling any excess coldness. The tips of your fingers, you don't tend to have any kind of numbness or
No, I can't say so.
lack of circulation in your fingers.
No.
Okay. And you're not a diabetic, correct?
Correct.
I do have some diabetic patients that like to have a removable tip so they have access to check their blood sugar. Can I have you flip your hands over for me? Okay, skin textures, soft. I'm not noticing any excess calluses, which is good. Are you Not using any gloves with your wheelchair currently? Or
No,
just,
I'm not.
Okay.
But I know I'm going to need it because I'm going to be using the wheelchair more often.
So you do have a little bit of calluses here. That's something we can pay attention to when we're getting you fitted. If this is an area that you tend to use kind of up against the wheel, we might need to add some extra padding for you there just to be aware of that. Okay. You flip your hands back over. Is this the length that you usually keep your nails at?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And then for wrist length, we were thinking about something maybe half an inch past the wrist.
That's fine.
So you do have fairly large hands, which is fine. Probably why you're looking for more of a custom fit, I would guess. Do you ever notice any swelling in your fingers?
No, I can't say so.
So maybe not something that we would need to worry about accommodating. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is start with cleaning the table so we can get our area prepped. Okay, so I'll have you remove your hands.
Sure.
I have just a special antibacterial wipe here that I'll be using to clean the table. Let me go ahead and lie down our sterile cloth. And basically the reason we do this is so when we do the casting, we don't get any particles that might affect the size and accuracy of your fitting. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is clean your hands. So if I can have you lay your hands back out for me. And this is just an alcohol-based spray, so I'll do the front and the back. Go ahead and flip your hands for me. We'll just let that dry for a second. And while that dries, I'm going to prep a couple of things. So just have you make a little bit of room for me. Pretty much dry. Okay. So let's go ahead and space your hands out evenly here. And where the end of the card meets your wrist, is that an appropriate length, would you say, for the end of the glove, or do you want to adjust that a little bit?
I think that's good.
Okay. Let me just make sure it's even, and I'm just going to be taking a tracing of your hands. We do give this just a little bit of a seam allowance so that when the gloves are sewn together, the seam doesn't take away from the measurement. So it might look like I'm kind of overlining your hands a little. That's okay. Perfect. So I'm going to have you lift your hands straight up for me. Wonderful. Just flip this over. Very large hands. Okay. So this is your left and your right. And we were okay with the wrist. So I'll set this to the side and we'll use that as part of your 3D composite. Okay. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is take a couple of measurements. So I just have this here. And your last name. We'll start with your left. So if I can have you extend your left arm for me. I'm just going to be taking a couple measurements. So I'm going to start by doing individual fingers. And I'll go across. So if I can have you lift your hand slightly, I'm just going to go around your wrist. So actual wrist measurement is 9 3/4. And as far as tightness, do you want it a little looser than that or right at?
Slightly loose.
Slightly looser, so maybe more like this.
Yeah, I think that's good.
So we'll give you about 1/4 inch. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the other hand. I'll have you lift your wrist for me. Definitely a little smaller on this side. And would you say the comfortable wrist size is about here?
Yes, I would.
Okay. 9.5 on that side. Perfect. Okay, so that's enough of your measurements. Your right wrist is actually about 1/2 inch smaller in diameter than your left, which is totally fine. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and set this aside, and I want to get one more measurement actually, just because I did notice a slight variation in the lengths of your fingers. So I'm gonna bring this back out, and what I want you to do is I'm going to set this device down, and it's basically going to help level out your hands. So what you're going to do is place this in the center of your palm. So just to give you an example, if these were my measurements, this would go here. You're going to place your palm over it, extend your fingers to where they would fall naturally on each hand, and I'm basically going to draw a line where your fingers end, and it'll help me with my measurements here, okay?
Alright.
So we'll start with the left here. So go ahead and we'll just relax your hands down. Perfect. go ahead and do the other side. You see I have a little bit less of clearance on this side. So go ahead and remove your hand for me. And essentially this is helpful because the tips of the gloves are slightly different texture to help with grip.
Okay.
And as you can see, you have less seam allowance here versus this side.
Okay.
So just something for them to note when they're assembling your gloves. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. The next thing I'm going to do actually is change my gloves. So I'm going to be putting on a pair of sterile gloves.
Okay.
And the reason I do this is we want to eliminate any excess microorganisms or dust particles that could be on my hands so that we're not contaminating your clay samples. So let's go ahead and take these off. Clean my hands one more time. Give my hands a second to dry as I get this ready. Okay, perfect. So, let's go ahead and move on. The next thing we're going to do is start with our, so if I can have you lay one of your hands out, it doesn't really matter which one we start with. I'm just going to have a closer look. I have a magnifying glass here. If there's anything I might have missed. Everything looks okay. I'm going to flip your hand over for me, and I believe this was the hand that had a little bit of excess calculus. Do you tend to notice your hand rubbing more here than in other areas, or it's just kind of your natural grip?
I can't say that I do.
Okay, go ahead and see your other hand. A scar, but it doesn't appear to be elevated in such a way that would affect the fit. So if you flip your hand over for me. Okay, I think we're okay. I don't see anything that should affect the fit of your gloves overall. So I do have a couple different things. So we can do this individually. Let's go ahead and start with your left hand. And I'm just gonna have you relax it on the table as much as you can. I'm gonna go ahead and just brush off any dead skin or excess debris you might have. Okay, flip your hand for me. Okay, and then relax on the other side. Do make sure. Sometimes little dead skin cells can hide in these crevices. While I have your hand here, this is a cleaning putty. I'm just going to activate it a little bit. And essentially I'm going to use this just to make sure we don't have any excess dust or dirt underneath your nails, anything that could affect the mold. I'll be using a silicone putty to take a casting of your hands, and it goes into a multi-step process that includes an epoxy, and any excess dust particles sometimes can affect the cast. Alright, so I'm going to have you just set this hand to the side, and I'll go ahead and start with the other. Just going to do the same thing. Flip your hand for me. I'll have you turn your hand over and just relax. Lastly, I'm going to come back in with the putty. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside. And we're going to go ahead and go forward with the casting, okay? So I'll start with whichever hand you're more comfortable with. This is going to be a cast of your palm. And the measurements that we took of your fingers will help us kind of fill in the gaps, but this essentially will go into a mold which is filled with an epoxy, and that's filled with silicone, and that basically gives us your custom glove fit. And then once we have the official molding, it'll go to the seamstress and they have it sewn for you. Okay, so I'm gonna slowly peel this off. We'll just get our bag ready. And we have a pretty perfect casting of your palm. I'll just set that aside. And then we'll move on to the other hand. Okay, so go ahead and flip your hand over for me. I'm going to remove my gloves. And go ahead and label this. Here. This is your left hand. Okay. All right, James. Well, these molds look great. I will send these off to the other part of the lab. They'll go into step 2 of the process, which is the casting. And then, like I said, step 3 is when we send these off to the seamstress. You will receive email updates in your patient portal as each step kind of follows through. And then obviously when the gloves are done, we'll have you come back in and get you fitted to make sure they're a comfortable fit for you. Do you have any questions for me in the meantime?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay. Well, the process overall tends to take about 14 days.
Okay.
So it is kind of a lengthy process, but like I said, we'll keep you updated along the way and we'll have you come back in. Okay?
Awesome.
So we'll see you soon. Thanks for
right.
coming.
No problem.
Have a good day.
Thank you.